Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Ling Wang. I am a realtor with Keller Williams, and my co-presenter today is Dane Moeller. He is the division president at Primary Residential Mortgage. If you're looking to buy your home in the San Francisco Bay Area or in California, you are in the right workshop. Dane and I understand that it can be challenging for first-time home buyers to enter this housing market. So we really want to be your trusted advisors and help you navigate the buying process. So in today's workshop, we will focus on down payment assistance programs that are designed to boost homeownership. We will explain how these types of programs work, and I will share our current market conditions and explain why buying now can be a smart move. Dane will then drill into the detailed requirements on the available down payment assistance programs and what the next steps are for you to get started with purchasing your gem home. So feel free to ask questions during this workshop, and you can always type in your questions in the chat window, or you can do so just unmute yourself. We'd love to people to jump in and participate and ask questions so we can address them quickly. If not, we can always have time at the end of the workshop and make sure we get all the questions answered. Okay, Dane, tell us, what is down payment assistance?
Thank you, Ling. Down payment assistance, as simply as possible, are additional funds to help purchase a home. This can make a home more affordable, or it can be used to meet minimum down payment requirements. These generally come from either state, county, local, or nonprofit organizations, and generally will be an additional lien on the home until it's either repaid or forgiven, depending on the loan program. Most down payment assistance programs do not require monthly payments, and currently there are only options for primary residents. So down payment assistance is focused on fostering home ownership, and it's not looking to help people become landlords. So down payment assistance, you'll find primary residents only, and this is what it entails. Now, Ling, is, like she said, is going to talk a little bit about when it's a good time to buy a home. Before we jump into that, though, I'm interested how many people have tried to use a down payment assistance program already in the past. So how many people, and maybe you can just put it in the chat or you can raise your hand, whichever you're comfortable with, but who has gone through the process and tried to use a program like this, but yet has not accomplished their dream of home ownership just yet? Anybody? Puma raised her hand. Thank you, Puma. I saw Ben raising his hand. Other people. So I think that definitely a few people in here have certainly tried already. Jessica, thank you. It can be challenging. The programs generally will have, they all have their own guidelines. Some are very restrictive. The ones that aren't restrictive, like June for All last year, can go very quickly. So we are up against both speed and compatibility with everybody's situation. So I find that really interesting, and I think we're going to hopefully educate everyone a little bit on how to better be ready for the next opportunity as it comes up. So Ling, why don't you take us back and talk about what's going on right now with real estate?
Okay. Thanks, Dane. Home appreciates. That's just a fact. If we look at this graph, right, the average annual appreciation rate nationwide for real estate in the US is 5% to 6% since 1968. If we use just the 5% as the rate, so $1 million today will be $4.3 million 30 years from now. That's a lot of equity, right? You can accumulate by simply living in your own home. So as homeowners, the equity can be leveraged, whether it is for buying a bigger home later on or for your retirement. So this also means that if you are planning to purchase a home, it is better to start early. So if we kind of look at the graph, right, the median home prices peaked in our area and also nationwide around May 2022. So what has happened since then? So I just want to kind of focus on our local market now. So if we look at the median sales price, year over year appreciation rates in the local three counties, I just kind of pulled the data from San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties. So when the inflation and interest rates went up in spring 2022, home prices just started to drop. So, and by as much as you see here, 25% for San Francisco. And with higher interest rates, homeowners are reluctant to move because they could get on their next home. So, so all these contribute to the relatively low inventory level compared to the previous years, right? So this year, you probably hear in the news, oh, the inventory is kind of low. Well, remember what we said, that the real estate appreciates with time. And the main reason behind depreciation is the concept of supply and demand. So with lower supply of homes, home prices actually started to come back up. So as you see in the graph, right? In the past 2 months, our local market has actually been tracking now positive year-over-year appreciation rates. If you've been waiting to purchase a home, I think it's actually a good time to start looking again. There are still plenty of homes on the market, right? So in September, there were over 3,000 homes available. This is, single families as well as condominiums available for sale in our local three counties. This is just data for these three counties. And you have found the perfect home when the house checks off all the boxes of your list of must-haves and more, and it is a home that you can afford to purchase. I think that's the key, right? So what is the smart move for home buyers today? Well, get prepared for your home search ahead of the time and create an effective search strategy, because you can find better deals really before the mortgage rates come down and before all the buyers return to the market and compete with you on offers. So here's a question for everyone here. So if we say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being very much so, how concerning is the current mortgage rate for you in your decision to buy? We'd love to hear your input. So you can put your answer in the chat window when you have a chance.
10 from Joan, 5 from Tylesia. Puma says very important. I mean, interest rate is always important. 8, 4 from Ben. I like it. Ben's saying, let's do this anyway. Tiffany at 10. Yeah, interest rates are up currently, and it's certainly a reason logically to think about sitting on the sidelines a little bit. But I don't think that that's a smart move, and I know Ling agrees with me on that.
That this is something we say all the time. You married a house, but you can continue to date the mortgage rate after your home purchase. And as Dane also added here, when you married a house, it effectively means that you have divorced the rent. So why do we say date the rate? Well, we mean that you can refinance your mortgage. So refinancing the mortgage on your house means you are essentially trading in your current mortgage for a new one. Homeowners have the option to refinance their home loans when the mortgage rates actually come down. And if you have been paying down that loan balance, you can get a new loan with not only lower mortgage rates, but also a lower loan amount. And as homeowners, you can refinance as many times as you want to lock in better rates and the lower monthly payments. So now the question is, will mortgage rates actually come down, right? So Dane thinks so, and Dane believes the rates will come down, and I have to agree with him. So let's ask Dane, What
Yeah.
kind of race can we see in her future?
Well, the experts are always pushing out their opinions. A year ago, people would have not predicted interest rates where they are now. I don't think anybody was calling for high sevens by the start of Q4 here. But I do think as we get into 2024, we'll start seeing rates come down. And I believe by the end of 2024, we'll see rates back around 5.5%. So this is being recorded. We could play this back in a year, and we'll see if my prediction came true. But I'm putting my money on 5.5 over under by the end of next year. So roughly 2% below where we are now. And a logical person would say, well, why don't we wait? But Tony in the chat nailed it in that when you purchase a home, you lock in your purchase price, you lock in your taxes, you get to start living there as well. You get to start getting the tax benefits, start paying down principal. And then later when you refinance, you're lowering that balance to a lower rate. When you wait to purchase, what will happen when rates go down is that prices will go up because there is, and as everybody knows, there is a tremendous amount of homeowners with rates at 3%, 4%, that level. They're not going to be rushing to sell their home when rates are at 5.5. So we will see a lot more demand because people are going to come off the sidelines without much more supply at all, really. And so that will logically mean higher prices as demand increases and supply stays the same. So we expect home prices to start appreciating back in the 6 to 8% range once rates get back to 5%. Wanda had asked a question. If refinancing cancels the original grant agreement, creates an additional payment to repay. No, it does not. So when you refinance, your original loan is paid in full. You do not have, say, two loans. It's that loan is paid, and then you have just a new loan to pay. So people refinance to go down to a lower payment, certainly not to have additional payments. Also, when you refinance, your property taxes are not changed. Oftentimes people say, well, if I get an appraisal and my house has gone up a lot, well, will my property taxes go up? And the answer is no. Appraisals are not public information, not reported to the tax assessor. And in California, your property taxes are protected. Oh, you meant the down payment assistance part. So it depends on the loan program. Dream for All last year, which we'll talk about very quickly here, allowed you to refinance and not need to repay the down payment assistance part. You only got one refinance, which was a unique thing for Dream for All. So you had to really pick your spot. And so far, I don't think any of those people have refinanced, would be my guess. But they're going to have to pick their spot when they do. So let's go on and look at a couple numbers here. Here are interest rate predictions from various sources: Fannie Mae, National Association of Realtors, and the Mortgage Bankers Association. You can see they generally agree with where I think things are heading. These are let's call it the three biggest predictors of interest rates in the country as organizations go. And I guess I'm throwing in my hat with the MBA mid fives by Q4 of next year, or they're saying even by Q3 of next year. But as you can see, every one of these entities is predicting interest rates to fall throughout next year. And I think if we had a graph of 2025, they'd be thinking a little bit lower by then as well. So it's not just me and Ling that think rates are coming down. Or she didn't even admit to thinking that. She just thought I said that.
No. I agree. I said I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at what the payments look like. So if you were able to purchase a home now with a $600,000 loan and got 7% interest, that would be a monthly payment of $39.92 a month. When that falls to 5.5%, a refinance will take that down to $34.06. So you're looking at, on a loan that size, $500 to $600 of savings from a refinance. Now, if you were to wait and the home prices were to increase to where you would have to take out a $700,000 loan at that 5.5%, you're back up to that $3,900 payment. And that's what I believe will happen. I believe most home buyers are riding on the edge of affordability. And as interest rates fall, they will buy a more expensive home and push up home prices. So I think for anybody who waits on the sidelines, unfortunately, the reality is that the payments that are available now will be the payments available then. But anyone purchasing now will be able to refinance to a lower payment. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that clear math? All right, I got a few people shaking their heads yes, so I'm going to take that as a yes. So let's talk about what programs to leverage for down payment assistance. First of all, I know everybody or most people came here to talk about Dream for All. So we do not yet have the new Dream for All guidelines. They are going to be out very soon, and that's why we wanted to have this webinar, because there's some rumors that once it comes out, it's going to launch right away. So these were the guidelines last time. We are expecting some changes. First-time home buyer, primary residence. It was a shared appreciation loan, which is a confusing topic often because not very many programs are shared appreciation. The idea is that upon the sale of the home, or anytime you wanted to, or at the end of 30 years, you would give back the original amount you borrowed plus 20% of the equity that was accumulated in the home. So if the home had gone up $140,000 on a $500,000 home, you would give back the original 20% plus an extra $28,000, with the buyer keeping $112,000 of that appreciation. Generally, these loans were paired with an 80% conventional loan with no mortgage insurance to make the home purchase more affordable. This loan had a very high income ceiling compared to most down payment assistance programs, up to $300,000 income ceiling in most Bay Area counties, and a 680 minimum credit score. So these are the general guidelines from last spring when the first round came out. I want to look at what that home appreciation looks like so everybody understands how equity share works, because equity share is not right for everyone. With doing an equity share, you are in essence trading a lower payment during home ownership for less equity when you eventually sell the home. And I actually will take a quick pause here. I'm interested to know, of the people who are here, would you rather have a lower house payment and less gain down the road, or more gain in 7, 10, 15 years and a higher payment along the way? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just interested to know what people value or what's most important. So Wanda says less. I don't know if that's less on a payment or less down the road. Or I guess that's less, right? More and more and less. So Wanda's saying she'd rather pay less and get less later, which Dream for All was really one of the best opportunities last time and will be again to do that, I believe. Anybody else want to weigh in? Would you rather have less, being less payment and less equity later? Or would you rather have more, being more payment and more equity down the road when you sell? Tony says more. Absolutely. Less monthly payment now for Joan. Yeah, Tiffany wants both. That's like when people, I ask people sometimes, well, what's your ideal payment? And an ideal payment is zero. So, I think that's the best answer. I want less payment and more money down the road. Well, I'll tell you, renting, you're going to have more payment down the road and zero equity. That we know for sure, because rents will continue to go up, and appreciation will continue to happen. But if you're a renter, you don't get to take any part of that. So looking at this, just to see how this works, this would be a $500,000 home. You can see the orange amount at the top is how much would belong to the fund when the home is sold. So that goes up very slowly. The equity, the blue part, grows larger over time. And the first mortgage is going down. So it's very important to note that it's the appreciation that is shared, not the equity. So any equity made from paying down the balance is not shared with the program. So you're only sharing the amount the house goes up. You can, as you pay down that balance, you don't share any of that money with the Dream for All program. Here's another look at this. This is a $500,000 home, sold 5 years later for $640,000. That's $140,000 in appreciation. The homeowner would get 112 of that, and the program would get 28,000 of that. During that time period, the loan balance went from 400,000 to 370. So the homeowner would also get the 30,000 in pay down of the balance. So pretty cool to be able to get into a home for essentially no money other than maybe closing costs and walk away in this scenario with $142,000. Pretty great opportunity, and why Dream for All went in 9 days last time around. 9 business days, and it was gone. So here's what we expect. There's a lot of rumors. There's some facts. We know that there's $200 million this time around. There was $300 million last time, so we have less money. We expect they're going to tighten it up so that it's harder for people to qualify, or more targeted at the home buyer the fund is looking to help. So this may entail lower income limits. They may not do 20%. They may do something like 10%. They may limit it to certain geographical areas. They may have higher credit standards, so lower debt to income or higher minimum credit score. They may limit it to a true first-time home buyer. So currently, first-time home buyer means you haven't owned a home in 3 years. They may limit it to have never owned a home. There is some talk of a lottery system, although Cal HFA is not prepared for a lottery, and I've talked to people there and they don't think that they can actually do it. So I don't think we'll have a lottery. One rumor, and again, the reason we want to start getting the word out, there is rumors that it will be a very quick launch, meaning that they will say on a Friday that it's starting on Monday. And they may do that thinking people who are currently pre-approved and struggling can take advantage. So we want to be those people. If they are going to have a quick launch, we don't want to be scrambling for pay stubs and bank statements and stuff and have the fund run out again. So I think it's very important to be ready, because if it does have a quick launch, it may go very quickly again. And we want everybody on this call who's possibly can find a house and qualify to be able to buy. Any questions on some of these expected changes or possible changes? We don't think it'll be all of these. I think it'll be some of these to slow it down. I'm sure they don't want it to go in 9 days again. I don't think that was their goal last time, I swear. So no matter what changes, we know it will go quickly. And to answer your other question, Wanda, I was able to get 6 people in last time through. The best strategy that worked was getting in contract 1 to 2 weeks before the launch date. And we had about a 6-week notice last time. And people got in contract 1 to 2 weeks out. I was able to reserve funds for 4 of them on the first morning. Like, it started at 9 a.m. and we reserved it at 9 a.m. 2 more got in. And Ben, unfortunately, who's on the call, missed it by, I don't know, 24 hours, maybe 12 hours, something like that, which still hurts me to this day. And Tiffany was asking lower income limits. So they have limits based on the county. Last time it was up to 300,000 in certain counties and lower in other ones. We will know as soon as they release the new guidelines who qualifies. The important thing, the easy thing, is figuring that out when we already know what the income is and have all the documentation. What's difficult is when we have no information about you as the buyer, and then we have to go get all that, and then we have to underwrite it and process it, calculate it, and then it's a weekend, and then you have to go find a home. So that's why we think it's important to get started early. Oh, we talked about, so there's a slide here, but just basically the highest chances are to do a pre-approval as soon as possible, or update one if you have one in process. Make sure you're underwritten and pre-approved, ready to go with the new program terms as soon as we get them out, and then make a strong offer 2 to 3, as long as it's not a quick launch. Make very strong offers 2 to 3 weeks out with, say, a 4 to 6 week escrow, and then have funds reserved the first day. You do have to have a property identified and in contract to reserve funds. They do not have a reservation system where you get to reserve money and then go shop. You have to be in contract. And there were people who put in ghost addresses and then tried to switch it, and they got denied. So there was a little maybe I'll just make up an address and get a reservation, and then I'll try to convince them to give it to me anyway. And that doesn't happen. And Ben, to answer your question, generally 4 months is the length of a pre-approval. Now they never expire. We never say, okay, we completely start over. We threw out all of your documents and we lost your information. So you never completely start over. But generally, about 4 months is what how long a pre-approval is good for. So certainly, if we did something now, it would be good through the rest of the year. And Wanda, you definitely wouldn't want to make an offer and have it accepted thinking you're using Dream for All without knowing the launch date. Really, if they do a Friday release for a Monday launch date, it's just going to be like, go as fast as you can. Most likely they're going to give us, I hope, a few weeks, a month ahead of time, something like that, so you can get prepared. But we just don't know. We don't know what their thinking is on trying to slow down how fast the money goes. And you can always, as Ben pointed out, add a loan contingency, and if it doesn't come through, and not. So you do not need to list that on a contract. You don't have to ever say you're using a down payment assistance program, but some sellers will ask for proof of funds. And if you say you're doing a 20% down payment and they say, okay, well, show us your proof of funds, then you'll need to explain that you're using a program if you don't have those funds. There's nowhere on a purchase agreement that says I am using a down payment assistance program or not. And the pre-approval letters do not list it either. So, but a seller can ask for proof of funds, and then you have to tell them what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about some other down payment assistance programs that are available now. Dream for All is an amazing program. It's one we're all looking forward to using again. There's programs that are available right now and have been available. These are all not equity share loans. So these are loans that are the other side, where you would have a higher payment essentially, but you would keep all of the appreciation on the home. So California, Cal HFA, their standby program, their program that's gone around all the time, is called My Home. They give 3 or 3.5% of down payment assistance. So they will cover your down payment. You generally just cover closing costs. You can add more on top if you want, but they will cover the full down payment if you don't have it. They have very high income limits, similar to Dream for All last time. 640 minimum FICO, so it can be a little bit lower. And no monthly payments are due on the down payment loan, the 3 or 3.5%. And that actually just sits at 1% interest until you want to repay it. So very low interest on that 3 or 3.5%. Also, another state agency, Golden State Finance Authority, they will give you up to 5% down payment assistance. For special occupations or county workers, they have grants. So some of that is actually a gift from the state rather than a loan. They allow non-first-time home buyers. So if you know anyone or anyone on this call that wants down payment assistance or needs it, but did own a home in the last 3 years, they will allow that. They will also allow co-signers, which Cal HFA, Dream for All did not allow co-signers for this other one. So the California State Financing Authority has a great program. Between the two, the Cal HFA program is a little bit better, I think, but the Golden State Finance Authority is a great loan too. My bank has a program called Welcome Home, 3.5 to 5% down payment assistance that we offer. And this can be a forgivable second, so it may not need to be repaid. You do not need to be a first-time home buyer, and available in every state in the country except New York, and 620 minimum FICO. So this is another great one to look at. Because we are a bank, we do need to offer an amount of down payment assistance to meet federal requirements, and we use this program to do that. Couple questions came in, was asking how much you should make in order to qualify for a down payment program, and does it matter what county you're in? So all of these down payment programs will have a ceiling under which you can't make too much, right? They're not trying to help someone who makes $1 million a year buy a house. That ceiling will depend on the county you're in and the program itself. So It's a lot to navigate. That's why you work with somebody like myself who knows all that stuff, and it's pretty boring. But I have a lot of those charts memorized, and we can look at your individual circumstance, and I'd be embarrassed to rattle them off for you, but I actually know a lot of them by heart. And then you do need to make enough to qualify to buy the house. So it's kind of like a band, right? You got to make enough to buy a house, but not too much to get yourself out of the program. And some programs, there's a program called Empower in Santa Clara County. There's also the Oakland Cal Home. Sonoma County has a program. All of them have very low income ceilings. So it's very hard to make enough money to buy a house, but not too much. The Sonoma program is 80% of the area median income by household size. So a two-person home, you need to make less than $100,000 a year, which can be challenging in Sonoma to find a house that you can buy if you make under $100,000 a year. So some of the programs are very hard to fit in the income limits. Others are a lot easier. Cal HFA is a lot easier. Wanted to ask if you can buy land and build within these programs, and generally no. Generally, they're not designed for that. It's very complicated to build a house, and for first-time home buyers, it's a lot to bite off. So they're generally not looking to help people to do that. I mentioned a few local options, and here's a list. There's many more, but here's a list of ones that we work with. Oakland, Sonoma, Santa Clara, City of Napa, San Francisco has an amazing program. It's a lottery. It's very hard to win the lottery in San Francisco, but they give a lot of assistance. AC Boost in Alameda County, they get money and then they spend it, but they are a great one if you can meet their requirements. California Association of Realtors has a fantastic grant, as does the Black Wealth Builders Fund. There's a lot that we work with. And Puma, to answer your question, yeah, if it has a home, like it can be a tiny home, but if it's a house, then you could buy it with one of these. It just can't be raw land. And yes, some programs allow combinations. So, for example, you can combine the standard Cal HFA program with the AC Boost. We funded a loan for a home buyer last week doing that. They got AC Boost and Cal HFA My Home. So some of them allow a combination, others don't. So it's just something we have to work within. So Tony asked if down payment assistance can be used for a 4-unit property, and it's a great question. Some programs do allow multiple unit properties, others don't. Golden State Finance Authority allows 2 to 4 unit properties. So that would be the one we generally go to for people who want to buy 3 or 4 units. And you do use 75% of the rent from the units you're not occupying as additional income when qualifying on the loan. Without getting too much in the weeds, the FHA, if you're using their loans, has a very hard guideline to overcome on 3 to 4 unit properties. So it can be very tough. It sounds good, and there's a lot on social media about doing it. But the FHA has something called a self-sufficiency test that can be very hard to meet. But it is possible, and a lot of the programs do allow it. All right, well, let's move on to Ling. I'll pass it back to you, and we'll talk about how you get started from here.
I think the market condition is good. And also, if you want to take advantage of the Dream for All, you want to meet with Dane first. So before we do any shopping, let's get the application in, so then we know what kind of price range that you can shop, right, with. And then meet with me, and we will work together to create a plan just for you. Remember, I think it's important we always look at, okay, what do we need in a home, right? And then there's also, what do I want in a home? They can be different. So I want to sit down with you and go through, what your requirements are for your home, so that we can figure out what the best strategy is for house shopping, right, in today's market. So we have our contact information here, and I believe that you have all gotten my email and then also probably a text message as well. So feel free to reach out if you have any other questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody on this call will be on the short list of people once we get more information on Dream for All. So we'll have everybody's contact info and be reaching out so you're kind of first to know.